Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant and watched the stars through the main screen. His hands gripped the rail as 17 alien ships moved into position around the blue-green planet below. The Zephyrian Commonwealth had made their final stand here at Kepler 442, and Jake knew this would be the last battle of a war that had already lasted 3 years. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and the gentle breathing of his crew. Lieutenant Amy Brooks sat at her station checking weapon systems. Commander Ben Rodriguez stood nearby reviewing tactical data. Ensign Chris Palmer monitored communications while Chief Engineer Tony Walsh kept watch on the ship's power levels. Security Chief Marie Johnson reviewed the ship's defensive systems. They were all good people who had followed Jake through many battles. Jake remembered when this war started. Human colonists on Proxima 7 had been killed without warning. The news reports showed burned buildings and dead families. The images made everyone angry. The government said the Zephyrians were monsters who attacked innocent people. That was 3 years ago. Now Jake's ship carried the most powerful weapon humanity had ever built. The Omega Protocol could destroy all life on the planet below. 2 billion Zephyrians lived down there. Men, women, and children who had never fired a shot at humans. But orders were orders. The communication system made a soft sound. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on the screen. She was known throughout human space as the Iron Admiral. Her cold eyes and sharp voice had guided humanity to victory after victory. Under her command, human forces had destroyed Zephyrian military bases across dozens of star systems. She was a hero to many people back on Earth. Captain Morrison, Admiral Carter said. Her voice was as cold as deep space. You have reached the final Zephyrian stronghold. I am giving you authorization to deploy the Omega Protocol, destroy the planet, end this war once and for all. Jake felt his stomach twist. He had read the classified reports about the Omega Protocol. It was not just a weapon. It was a way to make sure nothing could ever live on a world again. The nuclear cascade would poison the air, water, and soil for hundreds of years. Even the smallest bacteria would die. Admiral, Jake said slowly, request permission to try talking to the Zephyrian fleet first. Our intelligence reports suggest they might be willing to negotiate surrender terms. The seconds stretched long before Carter answered. Jake could see the anger in her eyes, even across the vast distance between her office on Earth and his ship. Near Kepler 442. You have 6 hours, Captain, Carter said finally. If they do not surrender without any conditions, you will execute the protocol. That is a direct order from Earth Command. The transmission ended, and the screen went dark. Jake stood in silence while his crew watched him. He knew they were all thinking the same thing. How could they kill 2 billion innocent people just to end a war? Commander Rodriguez walked over to Jake and spoke quietly. Sir, the crew is ready to follow your orders, whatever they may be. We trust your judgment. Jake nodded, but said nothing. He had been in the military for 15 years. He had always followed orders without question. Good soldiers followed orders. That was what kept human space safe and strong. But this felt different. This felt wrong. Lieutenant Brooks looked up from her weapons console. Captain, the Omega Protocol is ready for deployment. All systems show green lights. We can fire on your command. Thank you, Lieutenant, Jake said. But we are not firing anything yet. I want to try talking to them first. Amy Brooks nodded. She was young but smart. She had joined the crew too. Years ago, fresh from military academy. Jake could see the relief in her eyes. She did not want to kill billions of people either. Jake walked to the center of the bridge and looked at the planet on the main screen. It looked so peaceful from up here. Blue oceans and white clouds. Green continents where cities full of families live their daily lives. Children going to school. Parents working to feed their families. Old people telling stories to their grandchildren. Just like on Earth, the Zephyrians looked different from humans. They had silver skin and large dark eyes. They were taller and thinner than humans. But intelligence reports said they had families and cultures, just like humans did. They wrote music and poetry. They built beautiful cities. They explored space. Looking for new worlds to call home, Jake had seen video messages from captured Zephyrian soldiers. They talked about missing their families. They worried about their children. They hoped the war would end soon so they could go home. They seemed so human despite looking different. "Sir," Ensign Palmer said from the communication station, "I am picking up signals from the Zephyrian fleet. They are trying to contact us." "Put them through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered and then showed the inside of a Zephyrian ship. A tall figure with silver skin and large dark eyes appeared. This had to be their fleet commander. Jake had seen this face in intelligence briefings. Fleet Commander Veltar, one of the most skilled military leaders in Zephyrian space. "Human. Vessel," Veltar said through the translation system. "We know why you have come. Our sensors have detected your weapon signatures. You are here to finish what your people started 3 years ago." Jake stepped forward. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Hughes Valiant. Fleet Commander, I have orders to demand your immediate surrender." Veltar's expression did not change. "And if we refuse?" Jake felt the weight of the Omega Protocol pressing down on him. "Then I have orders to destroy your world." "I see," Veltar said quietly. "And will you follow those orders, Captain Morrison?" Jake looked around his bridge. His crew watched him with trust in their eyes. They would follow him into battle or into peace. The choice was his to make. "That depends," Jake said slowly, "on whether we can find another way to end this war." Fleet Commander Veltar studied Jake's face through the communication link. The Zephyrian leader had deep lines around his large dark eyes that spoke of many years carrying heavy burdens. His silver skin seemed to shimmer under the lights of his ship's bridge. "Captain Morrison," Veltar said, "you speak of finding another way. But your people have shown no interest in peace for 3 years. Why should this day be different?" Jake felt the eyes of his crew watching him. "Lieutenant." Brooks had turned from her weapons console to listen. Commander Rodriguez stood ready to support whatever decision Jake made. The bridge was so quiet Jake could hear his own heartbeat. "Because I am tired of killing," Jake said honestly. "And I think you are too." Something changed in Veltar's expression. The hard military mask slipped for just a moment, and Jake saw something that looked like pain in those dark eyes. "You are right, Captain," Veltar said quietly. "I am very tired of death, but your people attacked us first. You destroyed our sacred places and killed our diplomats." "We have only defended ourselves." Jake felt confused. "Our records show that. Your forces attacked human civilians on Proxima 7 without any warning. Innocent families were killed." Veltar's face showed surprise. "Is that what your people told you?" "Captain, your colonists built their mining operation on top of our most sacred burial ground. When we sent diplomats to ask for peaceful relocation, your security forces opened fire on our unarmed ships." Lieutenant Brooks quickly pulled up files on her computer. She scanned through reports from Proxima 7, her face growing pale as she read. "Captain," she whispered, "there are big gaps in the contact reports. Many files are classified above our security level." Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Fleet Commander, can you show me your records of what happened at Proxima 7? Veltar hesitated. "Captain, if I share this information with you, will you truly look at it with an open mind? Or will you dismiss it as enemy lies?" "I will look." At it, Jake promised. I need to understand what really happened. What came next changed everything Jake thought he knew about the war. Veltar transmitted detailed records from Zephyrian ships that had been at Proxima 7 3 years ago. The files included video recordings, communication logs, and sensor data from multiple sources. Jake watched in growing horror as the true story unfolded. The human colony on Proxima 7 had been built directly on top of an ancient Zephyrian cemetery. The site contained the graves of thousands of Zephyrians who had died over many centuries. To the Zephyrians, it was like building a shopping mall on top of Arlington National Cemetery. The Zephyrian government had sent a diplomatic mission to negotiate with the human colonists. The diplomats came in clearly marked peaceful vessels. They carried ceremonial weapons that were part of their funeral traditions, not military equipment. They had broadcast their peaceful intentions on all frequencies. But when the Zephyrian ships approached the human colony, a nervous security team had mistaken the ceremonial weapons for military threats. The humans opened fire first, destroying the lead diplomatic vessel and killing Ambassador Krendai, one of the most respected leaders in Zephyrian society. The other Zephyrian ships had tried to retreat, but human forces pursued them. In the fighting that followed, both sides suffered casualties. But the first shots had been fired by humans against unarmed diplomats under a flag of peace. The massacre your people reported, Veltar explained, happened after your forces killed our ambassador and his entire diplomatic party. Our remaining ships tried to evacuate survivors from the burning diplomatic vessel. Your security forces attacked them during the rescue operation. Jake stared at the video evidence playing on his screen. Human fighters strafing Zephyrian rescue ships. Zephyrian medics trying to save wounded diplomats while human weapons fire cut them down. Bodies floating in space around the burning wreckage of what had been a peaceful mission. But the official reports, Jake said slowly, they said you attacked without warning. Truth is often the first casualty of war, Captain, Veltar replied sadly. Your government needed a reason to justify taking our worlds. An unprovoked attack on innocent colonists made a better story than the accidental killing of peace negotiators. Commander Rodriguez stepped forward. Captain, I have been studying our tactical data on Zephyrian military technology. Their weapons are designed primarily for defense and exploration. These are not the ships of a conquering species. Lieutenant Brooks looked up from her computer with shock on her face. Sir, I found something else. The mining rights on Proxima 7 were owned by Titan Industrial Corporation. They stood to lose billions of credits if they had to relocate their operation to respect Zephyrian burial sites. The pieces began falling into place in Jake's mind like a terrible puzzle. Titan Industrial had enormous political influence on Earth. They funded political campaigns and employed millions of people. If they needed a war to protect their profits, they had the power to make one happen. Fleet Commander, Jake said, do you have any proof that would convince my government? Any evidence that human officials would have to accept? Veltar considered this carefully. There was a human merchant ship in the area when the incident occurred. The vessel was called Cassandra, commanded by Captain Kelly Murphy. She witnessed the entire event and tried to report what she saw. Ensign Palmer quickly searched the ship's databases. Sir, I found her. Captain Murphy filed 17 separate reports about Proxima 7. All of them were classified by Titan Industrial Security Division. She was told to keep quiet about what she saw. Jake felt sick. A human witness had tried to tell the truth, but corporate interests had silenced her. How many people had died because one company wanted to protect its profits? Captain Norrison, Veltar said gently, I can see this information troubles you. But please understand, we never wanted this war. We only wanted our sacred places respected, and our dead left in peace. Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were good people who had signed up to protect humanity, not to serve corporate greed. They had fought bravely in battles they thought were defending innocent human lives. Now they were learning they had been fighting for mining rights and profit margins. "Fleet Commander," Jake said finally, "I believe you are telling the truth. But I need more than your word to convince Admiral Carter. The woman has built her entire career on this war." "Then perhaps," Beltar said quietly, "it is time for both our peoples to learn what this war has really cost us, and who has truly benefited from all the death and suffering." Jake nodded. He knew what he had to do next, even though it would probably end his military career. Some things were more important than following orders. Some truths were too important to keep buried. The timer on his console showed 4 hours remaining until the Omega Protocol deadline. 4 hours to prevent the murder of 2 billion innocent people. 4 hours to stop a war built on lies and corporate greed. Jake took a deep breath and opened a communication channel to Earth Command. It was time to confront Admiral Carter with the truth. Admiral Lisa Carter's face appeared on the main screen with the same cold expression she always wore. Behind her, Jake could see the flags and medals that decorated her office on Earth. She had built her reputation on victory after victory against the Zephyrians. The media called her humanity's greatest military mind. "Captain Morrison," Carter said sharply, "you have less than 4 hours remaining. I trust you are preparing the Omega Protocol for deployment." Jake straightened his shoulders. "Admiral, I have discovered critical information about how this war started. The Zephyrians were not the aggressors at Proxima 7. I am requesting permission to stand down and begin formal peace negotiations." Carter's expression grew even colder. "Captain, you are beginning to sound like a Zephyrian sympathizer. I do not care what lies they have told you. We have 3 years of human casualties that demand justice. But Admiral, if we were wrong about how this war started, then maybe we are wrong about how it should end." "We are not wrong about results, Captain," Carter snapped. "You have your orders. Execute them." The transmission ended abruptly. Jake stood staring at the dark screen, knowing that Carter had not wanted to hear the truth. The Admiral had her mind made up long before this conversation started. Lieutenant Brooks approached, Jake with worry on her young face. "Sir, I have been analyzing the communication logs from our conversation with Admiral Carter. Her orders did not come just from Earth Command. They also came from Titan Industrial Corporation." Commander Rodriguez joined them, speaking in a low voice. "Captain, there is something else troubling me. I have been reviewing all our intelligence reports on Zephyrian technology and military doctrine. Their entire military structure is designed for defense and exploration, not conquest. These people are not trying to build an empire." Jake felt pieces of a larger puzzle clicking into place in his mind. "Show me everything we know about Titan Industrial's involvement in this war." The crew worked quickly to gather information. What they found painted a disturbing picture. Titan Industrial had not only owned the mining rights on Proxima 7, but they had also been the primary supplier of weapons and ships for the human war effort. They had made enormous profits from every battle fought over the past 3 years. Chief Engineer Tony Walsh pulled up financial records on his computer. "Captain, look at this. Titan Industrial's stock price has increased by 400% since the war started. They have made more money in 3 years than in the previous 20 years combined." Security Chief Marie Johnson found more disturbing information. "Sir, Titan Industrial has been lobbying the Earth government to expand human territory into Zephyrian space. They want access to the mineral deposits on 17 different Zephyrian worlds." Jake realized they were not just fighting a war. They were fighting a corporate business plan that required the destruction or displacement of an entire alien civilization. Millions of people on both sides had died to increase stock prices and quarterly profits. He opened a communication channel. Back to Fleet Commander Veltar. The Zephyrian leader appeared on screen, his dark eyes showing hope and fear in equal measure. "Commander," Jake said, "I believe you are telling the truth about Proxima 7, but I need proof that would convince other humans. Do you still have contact with Captain Kelly Murphy, the human merchant who witnessed the incident?" Veltar nodded slowly. "Captain Murphy has been trying to tell her story for 3 years. Titan Industrial threatened to destroy her shipping. Business if she spoke publicly. But she kept all her records and video footage from that day." Ensign Palmer worked at his communication console. "Sir, I'm locating Captain Murphy now. She is currently docked at Ceres Station in the Sol system. Her ship is the merchant vessel Cassandra. Open a channel to her," Jake ordered. Minutes later, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes appeared on the screen. Captain Kelly Murphy looked like someone who had been carrying a heavy burden for too long. "Captain Morrison," Murphy said, "I know who you are. You are the one they sent to finish off the Zephyrians. Are you calling to threaten me too?" "No, Captain Murphy," Jake replied. "I'm calling because I need to hear the truth about what happened at Proxima 7. Murphy's expression changed. For the first time in years, someone in authority was asking to hear her story. "Captain, I have been waiting 3 years for someone to ask me that question." What Kelly Murphy told them confirmed everything Fleet Commander Veltar had said. She had video recordings of the entire incident from her ship's external cameras. The footage clearly showed Zephyrian diplomatic vessels approaching the human colony under peaceful flags. It showed human security forces opening fire without warning. It showed Zephyrian medics trying to rescue survivors while human fighters strafed them from above. "I tried to report what I saw," Murphy said, her voice filled with old anger. "I filed report after report with Earth Command, with the Colonial Authority, with anyone who would listen. But Titan Industrial had more influence than one independent. Merchant Captain, what did they do to silence you?" Jake asked. "They destroyed my shipping contracts. They spread rumors that I was unreliable. They had government inspectors find safety violations on my ship that had never existed before. They made it clear that if I kept talking, I would lose everything I had worked my whole life to build." Commander Rodriguez shook his head in disgust. "They ruined your life to cover up their crime." "Captain," Murphy continued, "I kept copies of everything. All my video recordings, all my reports, all the evidence of what really happened. I have been waiting for someone with the courage to use it." Jake made his decision. "Captain Murphy, I want you to transmit all your evidence to every news network, every social media platform, and every government office in human space. It is time for our people to know the truth." "Are you sure, Captain?" Murphy asked. "Titan Industrial has enough power to destroy both our careers." "I am sure," Jake replied. "Some things are more important than careers." As Murphy began transmitting her evidence across human space, Jake opened another channel to Admiral Carter. When her face appeared on screen, he could see anger burning in her cold eyes. "Admiral," Jake said calmly, "I am sending you video evidence that proves the Zephyrians were not responsible for starting this war. Captain Kelly Murphy has footage that shows human forces fired first at Proxima 7. Carter's face showed no surprise. "Captain Morrison, even if that evidence is authentic, it does not change our current strategic position. This war may have started by accident, but it can end with purpose." Jake felt shocked by her response. "Admiral, you already knew the truth about Proxima 7. "Of course I knew," Carter replied coldly. "But the Zephyrians control 17 star systems that humanity needs for expansion. They have resources that our growing population requires. This war simply provides us with a justification to take what we need." "You are talking about genocide for profit, Admiral." "I am talking about survival, Captain. Humanity must expand or die. Zephyrians are simply obstacles to our future. Jake realized that Admiral Carter had never cared about justice or defense. She had been planning conquest from the very beginning. The war had been a convenient excuse to steal an entire civilization's territory. Admiral, I cannot and will not execute the Omega Protocol against innocent civilians. Carter's voice turned deadly quiet. Then you will be relieved of command and court-martialed for treason. Commander Rodriguez will carry out the mission. The communication ended, leaving Jake standing alone with his crew. In less than 3 hours, other human ships would arrive to remove him from command. Unless he found another way to stop this madness, 2 billion innocent people would die for corporate profits. Commander Rodriguez stepped forward as Admiral Carter's transmission ended. His face was grim but determined. Captain, the crew stands with you. We all heard what the Admiral said. We know what she is really asking us to do. Jake looked around. His bridge at the faces of his crew. Lieutenant Amy Brooks sat at her weapons console, her young face showing disgust at Carter's words. Ensign Chris Palmer had stopped monitoring communications to listen to every word. Chief Engineer Tony Walsh and Security Chief Marie Johnson stood together, both shaking their heads in disbelief. If we refuse these orders, we will all be branded as traitors, Jake warned them. Our military careers will be over. We might face prison or worse. Better to be traitors than murderers, Rodriguez replied simply. We joined the military to protect innocent people, not to kill them for corporate profits. Lieutenant Brooks turned from her console. Sir, I have 3 younger brothers back on Earth. How could I ever look them in the eyes if I helped commit genocide? What kind of future would we be building for them? Ensign Palmer nodded. Captain, my father always told me that a person's character is measured by what they do when no one is watching. Well, 2 billion Zephyrians are watching us. Right now, Jake felt pride swell in his chest. These were the kind of people humanity should be proud of. Not corporate executives counting profits or admirals planning conquests, but ordinary men and women who knew right from wrong when it mattered most. Thank you, Jake said quietly. All of you. But I need you to understand what we are choosing. Admiral Carter will send other ships to replace us. Captain Alex Turner commands the UES Retribution. He is completely loyal to Carter and will follow any order she gives. Then we had better find a way to stop him. Rodriguez said. Jake opened a communication channel to Fleet Commander Valtar. The Zephyrian leader appeared on screen, his silver face showing desperate hope. Fleet Commander, Jake said, I am prepared to offer you terms for peace, but they will not be the terms my government demands. What do you propose, Captain Morrison? Jake took a deep breath. What he was about to suggest would be considered treason by Earth Command, but it was the only way to prevent mass murder. I propose safe passage for all Zephyrian civilian ships to uninhabited systems beyond human space. I propose reparations for the damage caused by this war. I propose a formal apology from humanity for the incident at Proxima 7. And I propose joint exploration missions to prevent future misunderstandings between our peoples. Valtar's eyes widened in surprise. Captain, your offer is far more generous than we dared hope for. But what of your superiors? Will they honor such terms? Leave that to me, Jake replied, though he was not entirely sure how he would manage. The answer came sooner than expected. Jake's long-range sensors detected 3 human cruisers dropping out of hyperspace near the edge of the star system. The lead ship was the UES Retribution, commanded by Captain Alex Turner. Turner's face appeared on the communication screen within minutes. He was a thin man with cold eyes and a reputation for absolute obedience to his superiors. He had never questioned an order in his entire career. Captain Morrison, Turner said formally, You are ordered to stand down immediately and prepare to transfer command. Admiral Carter has declared you mentally unfit for duty." "Captain Turner," Jake replied calmly, "I respectfully decline. We are in the middle of delicate peace negotiations that could end this war without further bloodshed." "There will be no peace negotiations," Turner snapped. "Admiral Carter's orders are clear. Prepare to be boarded, or we will take your ship by force." Jake looked at his crew one more time. They all nodded, ready to support whatever decision he made. Even knowing the consequences, they were willing to stand with him against their own government. "Computer," Jake said aloud, "activate emergency broadcast protocol. Transmit on all frequencies to every human world, every news network, and every social media platform in human space." "Emergency broadcast activated," the computer replied. What happened next became the most famous moment in human military history. Instead of fighting Captain Turner's ships or surrendering to them, Jake and his crew did something unprecedented. They told the truth to everyone at once. Jake stood in front of the main screen as the broadcast began. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations, while the blue-green world of Kepler 442 filled the background. "My name is Captain Jake Morrison of the U.S. Valiant," he began. "I am speaking to you from the final battle of our war with the Zephyrian Commonwealth. In the next few hours, I have been ordered to use the Omega Protocol to destroy the planet behind me and kill 2 billion innocent civilians." Across human space, people stopped what they were doing to watch. The broadcast reached every human world simultaneously, bypassing all government censorship systems. "But before I follow those orders, you need to know the truth about this war," Jake continued. 3 years ago, we were told the Zephyrians attacked our colonists on Proxima 7 without provocation. That was a lie. Jake played the video evidence from Captain Kelly Murphy's ship. Across human space, millions of people watched Zephyrian diplomatic vessels approaching under peace flags. They watched human security forces open fire without warning. They watched Zephyrian medics trying to rescue survivors, while human fighters strafed them from above. "The Zephyrians never attacked us," Jake explained. "We attacked them. We built our colony on their sacred burial ground and killed their diplomats when they tried to negotiate. This entire war has been fought to cover up that crime and to steal their worlds for corporate profit." The broadcast continued for 30 minutes. Jake showed every piece of evidence they had found. He played recordings of Admiral Carter, admitting she knew the truth but wanted the war to continue anyway. He exposed Titan Industrial's role in starting and profiting from the conflict. As the broadcast ended, Jake could see Captain Turner's ships moving closer, but something had changed. Turner's face appeared on the communication screen again, but now he looked uncertain and confused. "Captain Morrison," Turner said slowly, "is what you just broadcast really true? Did Admiral Carter really order you to commit genocide?" "Every word is true, Captain Turner," Jake replied. "The question now is what you are going to do about it." Turner was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. "Captain Morrison, I have new orders from Earth Command. All military operations in this system are suspended, pending a full investigation. You are to maintain position and await further instructions." Jake felt relief wash over him. The broadcast had worked. The truth had reached the right people in time. Fleet Commander Veltar's face appeared on screen, beside Turner's image. "Captain Morrison, my people's monitoring stations have been receiving thousands of messages from humans across your space. They are demanding an end to this war and justice for what happened at Proxima 7. The truth has a way of spreading. Once it gets loose," Jake said with a small smile. Captain Turner nodded slowly. "Captain Morrison, I owe you an apology." "We all do. Admiral Carter told us we were fighting to protect humanity. Instead, We were fighting to make rich people richer. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. They had risked everything to do what was right, and somehow it had worked. The truth was finally free, and 2 billion innocent lives had been saved. But Jake knew this was only the beginning. Now came the harder task of building a real peace between two peoples who had been taught to hate each other. The revolution began within hours of Jake's broadcast. Across human space, angry crowds gathered outside government buildings and Titan industrial offices. Social media networks crashed from the volume of messages demanding answers. News reporters, who had been silenced for 3 years, finally told the stories they had been forbidden to share. On Earth, protesters surrounded Admiral Carter's headquarters, while politicians who had supported the war scrambled to distance themselves from her policies. Stock markets crashed as investors fled from any company connected to the military-industrial complex. Titan Industrial's stock price dropped by 70% in a single day. Jake watched the chaos unfold from the bridge of the Valiant while maintaining position near Kepler 442. Captain Turner's 3 ships had taken defensive positions around the planet, but they were no longer threatening the Zephyrian population. Instead, they were protecting the peace negotiations that had begun between Jake and Fleet Commander Veltar. Captain Morrison, Veltar said during one of their many conversations, "My government has authorized me to accept your proposed peace terms. Safe passage to new worlds, reparations for war damage, and joint exploration missions between our peoples. But we have one additional request." "What is that, Fleet Commander?" "We want Captain Kelly Murphy to be honored by both our governments for her courage in preserving the truth. Without her evidence, none of this would have been possible." Jake smiled. "I think that can be arranged." The political changes on Earth happened faster than anyone expected. Admiral Carter's government fell within 3 days as investigation. After investigation revealed the corruption that had started the war. The new administration took power with a clear mandate from the people: end the war honorably and hold the guilty parties accountable. Carter herself was arrested and charged with war crimes. During her trial, she showed no remorse for the billions who would have died under the Omega Protocol. She maintained that her actions were necessary for human expansion, and that history would vindicate her decisions. Humanity must grow or die, she told the court during her final statement. The Zephyrians were simply in the way of our destiny. If you find me guilty, you are condemning our species to stagnation and eventual extinction. The court disagreed. Carter received a life sentence on a prison colony, where she spent her remaining years writing military strategy books that were widely read but never officially adopted. Meanwhile, Jake found himself at the center of the most complex peace negotiations in human history. The new Earth government appointed him as their chief diplomatic representative, while the Zephyrians chose Fleet Commander Veltar for the same role. Working together, they hammered out the details of what became known as the Treaty of Kepler 442. The Zephyrians received compensation for war damages and new colony worlds far from human space. Humans pledged to respect Zephyrian cultural and religious sites. Most importantly, both species established joint exploration missions to prevent future misunderstandings. The treaty signing took place on the surface of Kepler 442, in the capital city of the Zephyrian Commonwealth. Jake stood beside Veltar, as representatives from both governments signed the historic document. Around them, Zephyrian and human children played together in the gardens, the first generation to grow up knowing peace between their peoples. "You know, Captain," Veltar said as they watched the children play, "your Admiral Carter once asked whether you wanted mercy or results. You proved that sometimes they are the same thing." Jake nodded. "The best results usually come from showing mercy, Commander. It just takes some people longer to understand that." The memorial they built together became a symbol of the new relationship. between humans and Zephyrians. It stood at the exact spot where the first shots of the war had been fired 3 years earlier, now transformed into a garden where representatives from both species worked side by side. The inscription on the memorial was written in both human and Zephyrian languages, in memory of those lost to misunderstanding. May truth always find a voice, and may courage always answer when mercy calls. Jake kept his command of the Valiant, though he never sought promotion beyond captain. He remained on frontier duty, where his experience in first contact situations became invaluable. His crew stayed with him, forming one of the most effective diplomatic teams in human space. Lieutenant Amy Brooks was promoted to commander and became Jake's first officer. She specialized in alien communication protocols and helped prevent several potential conflicts through careful diplomacy. Ensign Chris Palmer became the ship's communication specialist and developed new translation systems that made communication between species faster and more accurate. Commander Rodriguez eventually accepted promotion to captain and received his own ship. He used Jake's methods to resolve 3 separate conflicts between humans and alien species without firing a single shot. Chief Engineer Tony Walsh became the head of a joint human-Zephyrian engineering project that developed faster and safer interstellar travel. Security. Chief Marie Johnson left the military to become a civilian investigator specializing in corporate corruption. She spent years tracking down all the companies and individuals who had profited from the war, making sure